Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rum and Regret podcast. I am Andy Drake.
Johanna Myers.
Nate Tussing, we drink and we know things.
Ladies and gentlemen, we made it. Halloween Horrorcast 2023. And no Horrorcast is complete without Mr. Soup himself, Steve Polivka. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing great, man.
Thrilled to have you on, man. Always.
Yeah, thank you as well. Thank you guys for having me again.
I think you are our most guested guest.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so he was competing with Sarah for a while, but then the horror stuff took over, and yeah, he's way out of it.
Right.
I think at this point.
Yeah.
It's my wide range of talent, you know, Nick Cage and horror. So.
I mean, if you're going to be good at things.
You know?
It's not,
right.
Yeah, those are transferable skills.
Yeah. This is we've done a few horrorcasts before, but this is going to be our second time doing the make Nate watch scary movies format.
Yeah. Rum and Regret, second annual Rum and Regret tortures Nate.
Most excellent.
Yeah.
Horrorcast,
Steve, Joe, and myself all posed a movie for Nate to watch. And he was tasked with watching them, and then he's going to give us his thoughts on the movie, and we will add our flavor to whatnot. During the course of October, as it always seemed to happen, we added some extra credit here and there, so we'll go over those movies afterwards. But I think since our guest is here and he suggested a movie, let's start with his suggestion. Steve, why don't you tell us which movie you chose for Nate to watch and why you chose it?
So the movie I chose is I have to make sure I get the title right. I always
TABGAHM.
It's one of those long title movies that I always get the words out of order. So the movie I chose is called The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. 2023. It is, the reason I chose it is because it's kind of a modern retelling of Frankenstein. Frankenstein is my favorite of the Universal monsters. It's my favorite horror novel. I like the cultural aspect of Frankenstein just as it's kind of pervasive through horror. And so when I saw this coming out, like it was going through the different film festivals, I was keeping tabs on it, and it finally became available for streaming right before I found out I was going to be on this podcast. So I was like, oh, that'd be perfect. I'll throw that out there. I think I threw it out there before actually screening it myself. So, the trailer just looked so good, and so that was my choice for this endeavor.
Nice. So Nate, why don't you give us your review or any notes you have from The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster? That's right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. You're muted, sir.
I am muted. Haha.
Whoops.
Roll credits. So really, I'm not really sure what I expected, but it's pretty much exactly what I expected. It's just kind of modern retelling of the Frankenstein monster story, but from the hood. So think of like Friday without the comedy.
Yeah.
What's a better analog for that is more like
Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood. Thank you. Meets Frankenstein's monster. So the intro is pretty intense. Young girl talking about how she heard her mother's last heartbeat because her mom caught a bullet. She was about to be a doctor. And then similar in that same opening scene, same thing with her brother caught a bullet. And then her main takeaway is that death is a disease. If death is a disease, then there's a cure, and I'm going to find it. So she becomes obsessed with death and how to try and not only bring her brother back to life, but kind of circumvent it altogether. This movie is obviously very low budget, but does some amazing effects for it being such a low budget movie. Like there's scenes where I mean, this is not really a spoiler because we're talking about Frankenstein's monster, right? There's scenes where she's stitching together the monster, and it looks really gross.
Yeah.
It's like they took like a brisket or something, like it looks like actual meat that they, doctored up and that kind of thing to actually move, and like it jiggles, and she's putting in the giant metal, hook to sew it together, and it's very convincing. So I'm almost 100% it was either like cadaver, which I'm not sure is legal, or some kind of processed meat.
Right.
But it's really good. It's it doesn't really take a lot of horror turns. I think, Steve, you mentioned this when we were talking about it, that it ends up being more of a drama than a horror movie. But it's a dramatic movie with a lot of good horror elements. The kills are awesome.
Yeah.
There's some really good piles of viscera and like squeezing of heads, and there was a couple different notes I had, like what was it? Ew, pile of secret viscera by the door. Like things of that are just kind of placed in and out.
Just kick that behind the door.
I mean,
right.
you want to keep your secret viscera by the door. Your public viscera you kind of put out on the lawn,
out in the front street. Right, exactly. I really the notes I took are basically me live tweeting this, and I should have just live tweeted it because it was pretty good. There's a really cool moment where you realize that the operating table she's been using the whole time is actually a door that has like glass on the top of it.
I saw that.
Well, they use that as a vehicle in the finale where she can see through the glass, but then the thing drops below that and now she can't see it, and you're like, oh fuck. It does a really good job of heightening the tension and that kind of thing.
That was one of the things I really liked about this, was the low budget laboratory. Like everything in there was repurposed, and you could totally you could totally see that somebody who really wanted a laboratory but didn't have the money but took the time to put it together,
right?
Like really put it together.
And where are you going to get all this stuff in the hood?
Right.
You're going to scavenge it and scrounge it.
Exactly.
And so that must have been fun for the set decorators to put together, like, okay, what can we secondhand use for this? What can we secondhand use for that? What can we secondhand use for this? So I loved that part of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we want to spoil the ending of this? Because it was pretty good.
I have to talk about it because, like, So I mean, up until the movie was like a 6 for me, going up into the last 20 minutes, and the entire going from sort of, I'm gonna say if a movie is A to Z, right, and we're at, let's just say, T or U in those last 20 minutes, like U to Z is some of the most incredible. Like, I didn't expect it to go that way or go that route.
Yeah, right.
And when it did, I'm sitting at my desk watching this. I'm like, no, they're not going to do that.
Did you have an I done it moment?
Completely.
Arms up.
After everything leading up to this moment, right, to still have the balls to go that route it's such a great choice, and it's such a good reveal at that point. So yeah, the ending was just like, like I think that was the sound that I made.
Yeah, there was I guess we're gonna spoil it. Fuck it. So there's the little sister, cousin, whatever her relation is creepy as fuck.
Right. Yeah.
Especially towards the end.
Creepy as fuck.
Awesomely creepy as fuck. I think I put it in here, like Alphabet Kid is creepy as fuck. Yeah. Alphabet Kid is creepy AF. Let's see. Don't let the something busters ruin the meal. It was a quote that they used quite a bit. But then towards the end, it's like, can you bring the whole family back?
Right.
And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then it's a quick, the slow pan of he got in and they all attacked him, and oh my God. And my immediate thought was, oh shit, the baby.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the baby.
Right.
And then she's going through it in her head, and she's like, he was just here. They're still fresh. Oh my God, the baby. And I wrote in again, oh my God, the baby, ... He's alive! And they named him Victor.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, I like that they named him Victor. Like, her name was Vicaria, which I like the kind of subtle nods to like Frankenstein, and I thought the ending definitely kind of took me, like, I was like, whoa, okay, that's how they're ending this. I see. All right, okay, I get it now. I mean, and I agree with you, Nate. The younger cousin, definitely creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Nothing better in a horror movie for me than when there's like a creepy ass kid. Like,
no,
that's the most scary thing in movies to me. Is just like,
that's fucks with me real hard.
Where like, oh, by the way, I'm teaching this monster the alphabet. Just FYI, I'm like, why the hell would you do that? Like,
let's make it so we can understand what we're saying about it. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Yep.
He's gonna be taking notes on the other side of the Candyman wall. He's like, like, you know. But yeah, I feel like I loved about this movie is kind of subtle nods to other really good horror movies that are kind of based in a similar vein. So like Candyman, for example, there were a lot of nods I felt like to Candyman.
Yeah.
Being that like they are in kind of the projects. There's an abandoned unit next door to them that the monster kind of chills out in, and they find like a secret passage into it. I was reminded a lot of Candyman throughout this. Also, surprisingly reminded of The Wire from HBO.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Like, I had a lot of... And I feel like, Nate, you hit on this a little earlier. I felt like this movie was a great drama horror movie. Like, it wasn't pure horror, I felt like. There was a lot of social commentary. I mean, how can you not with the title? But there was a lot of drama, a lot of build-up, a lot of suspense, and the monster kind of just helped drive the plot forward.
Right.
But it was enjoyable, I felt.
Yeah, my first note here is Jesus, these poor kids. ...
Yeah.
Who's paying for the shrink?
Right.
Joe, do you have thoughts on this thing?
It was awesome. The acting I thought was really good.
Yeah.
For like a low budget, like everybody was super believable, and the kids were killing me. Like the creepy girl, and then the little hood kid that gets killed. Yeah. You know. Yep. The spoilers.
Yeah, talk about Boys in the Hood. We saw that one coming too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. Steve, do you have any more thoughts on this movie?
The one kind of, I guess, thought I have, which is a bit of a gripe in a sense. So I watched this with my wife on our anniversary, actually. So I mean, what better way to spend your anniversary? She brought up a really valid point really early in the movie, and I was like, great, now I can't unthink that. Thank you. And it was kind of a little bit of a glaring plot hole, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, they really should have found a better way to address this. But like, so Vicaria is, by all accounts, like a genius.
Yeah.
Like, she put together her lab out of like scraps from the streets.
Yeah, she's Tony Stark, right?
She's like Tony Stark, and like amazingly smart and amazingly confident and everything. Yet she had to like see somebody using defibrillator paddles to be like, oh, electricity brings the body back, and it was like, really? I mean, like, I am dumb as shit when it comes to science. I know electricity brings the body back. Like, and so my wife immediately was like, that's so unbelievable. If she's a genius, why would she not know that? And I was like, you know, and then like the rest of the movie, it was like just replaying in my head, and I was like,
God damn it.
Yeah.
It's just like,
fair point.
But aside from that, I felt like it was really well done.
Yeah.
I wish we got to see more of the monster. I do appreciate a monster movie that doesn't just shove the monster directly in your face.
Yeah.
I liked the use of shadows, the use of suspense. But two sides of the same coin, the monster looks amazing, and I would have liked more face time with the monster. My other gripe is that there were some scenes where like the police just showed up and they were like, damn you kids, knock it off, and then they like disappeared 2 seconds
Yeah.
later, and it was like, especially like a cop gets killed and the cops show up for like 10 minutes and are like, well, back to our station. And I was like, are you kidding right now? Like that's the most unbelievable part about this movie, and there's a monster in it. Like, regardless.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I loved it. It was really I look forward to seeing if I'm looking up her name right now. Laya De Leon Hayes plays Vicaria. I really hope she does more in horror.
Yeah,
and I
she was
really,
great.
yeah, she was fantastic. I look forward to seeing her in more stuff. I feel like she has a knack for this.
Yeah.
I will say the one thing to your wife's point, actually, of the one thing that took me out of it too was the fresh thing. Because it was like, oh, they're fresh. And it's like, obviously, fresh meat's better to work with. Like, that should
Right.
kind of been your first.
Well,
I think it was more of a soul situation, or like to
Yeah.
be able to actually retain some of who they are, as opposed to being a decomposed, kind of half
yeah,
thing.
and to get she was collecting body parts over time to complete. So
Her
yeah,
brain.
so that made sense from that point.
Yeah.
But this was a really good movie, and it was I really liked it. It was a great take on the Frankenstein genre, and
Right.
like I said, man, those last 20 minutes of getting that reveal of they're fresh. What if I do it now? And then just like, I mean, she could have pulled the lever and it could have faded to black and I would have been happy. But the fact that like we got to see like 5 more minutes and then the girl waking up and you're just like, oh my God, oh no, they didn't just go there.
Yeah,
And
I was kind of shocked.
Are they
did
going to
that.
do Zombie Baby? Or
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I was like,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I think I thought they were going to end it on her finding the family just all dead.
That's what I thought.
I
too,
thought so
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I thought that would have been a really strong ending, and very like typical, horror monster movie style.
But I
do
love
like
that
the
they
fact
went
that
that extra time and gave us that
Oh, yeah.
extra reveal, and like it's just like no shit, she's right, it works.
100%. So this thing had some good kills and some really good like body work stuff. I gave it 7 side kittens out
There
of
you
10
go.
as far as the like on the grody scale. It's not side kitten scale isn't really like a film rating. It's more of a kind of rating of how I felt.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. Again, like
maybe even a 6 because there's not a lot of it. Maybe a 6. We'll go with a 6 because that's not.
But still, no.
Because Slaughterhouse had more, kind of.
We'll get there.
Oh,
I know.
We'll get there. So the second movie I want to talk about is my suggestion, which is the movie Nowhere on Netflix.
Well, fuck you.
Oh.
Fuck
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
All the fucks. You get all the fucks. Fuck you.
I have one question for you, Andy. Who hurt you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So again, we get the homework assignment that we need to pick a movie. I see this weird ad on Facebook saying a Netflix movie is causing panic attacks to certain people. I'm just like, I gotta watch this. And then
Oh my God.
and then so sure enough, like within 10 minutes it's on, right? And I'm watching it. And then like not your typical horror movie, right? More of a like thriller, know, but
Post-apocalyptic thriller drama.
Yeah. And so, but like it was, and again, like it's a dubbed movie. I think the original was Spanish, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but this is the first time where the people doing the dub work, I felt really like understood what was going on with the acting and everything. Some of the side characters, maybe not so much, but the mains at least, like the person who dubbed the girl, I think was incredible.
Insane. Yeah, insane.
And so, but to that point, again, this sort of stranded, like no resources whatsoever, and just
bunch of Tupperware and earbuds.
Yeah.
right
And sweatshirts.
Yeah, thank God for the sweatshirts sealed in plastic. That literally saved her life.
Right? Yeah, and then good thing Verizon works out there.
I know, right?
Yeah, that definitely wasn't Verizon.
Right? Yeah, no, true.
Right.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Nate, give me your thoughts. Give
Yeah.
me your thoughts on Nowhere, man.
Man, fuck you. I don't
So
think
I
mentioned that
gotta
yet.
preface this as like I told like on our chat, I said to Andy like that was rough before Nate watched it, and he was like, "Oh
Yeah.
shit."
No, it came in from all of you before I
Yeah.
watched it, and I was talking to Annie about it, and I go, "I'm gonna die." Like, I think this is gonna be like a what is it, The Ring or whatever situation? Like, I'll die in 7 days, because if the three of these people, who I consider much more versed and much more enjoyable as far as horror goes, think it's this rough, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to watch this movie. Like, I'm a little scared now, and so I went into it, and then initially, like, the opening is just like, oh Jesus fucking, what the hell is going on here? And then you kind of, okay, this is the world we're in. Oh my God, okay, this is gonna be bad. Like, oh God, they're gonna get discovered. Oh yeah, cool, they got the false wall. Oh, these bad guys aren't stupid. and thankfully, I mean, God, I kind of almost rather be capped at that point than go through all that shit. But
Right.
yeah. So long story short, it's a couple post-apocalyptic Spain, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or at least somewhere in that area. And they're trying to escape because the resource limitations have gotten so bad that whatever the regime that's in charge is starting to round up pregnant women and children, and killing them in mass to help save resources, which is fucking terrifying. But could probably work in certain states. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. And so they have this, they pay the coyote or whatever the equivalent is over there, to smuggle them out in these big cargo containers on big rigs, excuse me. And they get separated. There's a stop.
Jesus. Yeah.
The slime balls try to add a bunch more people into the container, and they get separated. Now she's pregnant. They're hiding it. They also have like a Snickers bar between them, and a couple pieces of food and a couple pieces of tech that they're hiding, because you can't trust anyone. It's that, everyone's going to steal your shit, basically, is the situation. So then they get separated. They're in two separate trucks. There's a bunch of stuff happening in between. Both of their containers get loaded onto a container ship that hits a giant storm in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It sounds like, because she ends up in Scotland, right?
Yeah,
or
They're going to Ireland.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that would be Atlantic. And the containers get tossed, or a lot of the containers get tossed, including hers and the one her husband's in, which she has to watch and listen to everyone in that container drown, which is brutal. And somehow her container stays afloat because there's more air in it than water, and she plugs bullet holes with tampons or whatever that was. Like, it was the packing container packing material from the TVs. Yeah, she ends up having a baby in a storm in this container floating in the middle of the ocean.
Dude, one of
there's
the
a couple containers full of
scenes,
stuff.
like
water,
insane, like, oh my God, like,
I was like, are they doing this? No, they're gonna do this.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
fucking doing
Yeah.
this. Oh my
to
God.
the point where she saves the placenta for later.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was
smart.
It's protein, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
and it honestly,
people eat it sometimes. It's a ritual.
It's supposed to.
Oh, yeah.
I know people that dry it out,
Fry
they
it
make
with
little
onions.
pills out of it, and it's supposed to
Oh, yeah.
regulate your. No, it's supposed to help with postpartum depression. Anyway,
Yeah. And
beef jerky.
she eats it raw though.
Yeah, she does eat it raw.
That was the time I was like, no,
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
I was, yep. Yeah,
mean,
she survives a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Especially like when she finally cuts open the top of the container and drags her thigh
God,
across it.
that
I was like,
was
oh!
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was the second time I almost noped out of this one.
Yeah. I've had a similar injury, not on the top of my thigh, but on the side, and it looks just like that, except maybe a little more white, depending on how much fat you have in your body. Oh
Jesus.
my god, it is gnarly as hell. It gave me flashbacks. It was gross.
Dude, and she sews it up like a fucking champ.
Yeah, seriously,
I
with a
mean-
staple from the back of a TV motherboard and copper wiring. Like,
Was this gal a nurse?
So, like,
in like a previous
she was a
life?
teacher
Like,
of something. So, yeah.
Jesus.
So there was the point where and again, like, bonus points to her for switching out SIM cards to the old Nokia, right? And then getting the call from the boyfriend or the husband trying to figure out where he is and what he's done. And so, like, this is like 3/4 through the movie where she finally gets the phone call that he's like slipped away. He got on another boat and got shot. And like, I expected her to say, do you know what I've fucking been through? You've got shot. Do you want me to list everything that I've been through? And I'm still
She should have
going?
died 4 times by then, right? You know, and the baby, especially the baby.
Yeah.
Holy fuck!
So
I do like the little fort that she makes for her. Like, eventually, there's like a little hanging thing with a shelf.
yeah.
She's weaving the AirPods into a net at one point, and she realizes, oh look, the fish like to poopy,
Right.
and then she uses that for bait. Like, you have a placenta that would work really well for bait.
Yeah, but there's only one of that. The kid's a never-ending fountain of poop.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
there you go. It's a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
And
Right.
that's one of the things I love about sort of isolationist like movies is the found stuff, how the found stuff is going to come into play later.
yeah, case full of liquor so she can stay warm.
Right.
Like, and it sanitizes the wound, and then like all of the Tupperware. My first thing was like, oh, easy, just you'll fashion a raft and float away.
But she was using it to
Eventually
just
it
like pour out
does,
the
yeah.
water, so I figured that's where the Tupperware was going to end, But then,
Yeah.
the little baby bassinet raft with the Tupperware is like, I'm like, God
Yeah.
damn, that's brilliant.
The one thing that I really loved is how she started using a gravity siphon to pull the water out.
Yeah.
Like, she had the 2-liter taped into the tube and then was scooping it up instead of having to try
Right.
and do the little scoops of water out every time. It was very interesting. Obviously that container's not staying like that,
Yeah.
but I enjoyed it quite a bit after. Okay. So let me back that up. After my body acclimated to the new sense of to the new normal of oh my god, what the fuck, every 2 minutes, and just like I was tense the entire time. I'm pretty sure I cracked a tooth. Like, it was not cool. Like, she takes the baby up top with her to look at what's bumping into the side of the
Right.
Like, come on, don't do
Yeah.
that. What are we doing here? Come on, don't worry about the Snickers bar,
Right.
or at least go get it now instead
Yeah.
of like, oh no, I'm gonna get tangled in things. Yeah, I liked it a lot, actually. In general, it really. I was worried about sharks at the end.
Yeah.
She's like chumming the water to try to keep an eye on where the seagulls were, which I thought was great. But it's like, okay, thankfully you're in a part of the world where there's not a lot of those things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I really liked it overall.
I thought this was a really good movie.
Yeah, but fuck you still for making me feel things.
Right.
Steve, what are your thoughts?
Oh my god. So I made the brilliant decision to watch this while I was at work
Oh god.
on my phone.
Oh god.
And I had a notepad next to me, and all over the notepad was just, Jesus fucking Christ, Andy, what the hell? To the point where one of the doctors I work with was like, what are you writing? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be on a podcast. I'm watching this movie. It's horrendous. I didn't make it far with the dub. Like, I'm weird about dubs, and the first, like, when I was hearing the voices, it sounded like in South Park when they mimic, like, when it had, like, the Japanese guys mimicking an American accent. They're like, I will use my credit card.
Right.
I was like, oh, God.
The beginning was bad, yeah.
So I put it in the original Spanish, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just watch it with subtitles.
Okay.
And
Nice.
and But oh my god, this fucking movie was like a nonstop train wreck of stress. And like right when I acclimated to where I was like, okay, she's in the fucking container, it's fine. And then the other container starts sinking and you hear all the people screaming. And I'm like, ah! And then like, okay, she's fine. And then she cuts her thigh open and I'm like, oh my god. And then she gets out of the container in the dark and there's that giant shadow and I was like, she's gonna get eaten by like a fucking megalodon or something.
Right.
Like, god damn it. I was just like, every 5 minutes, I was like, I cannot just settle with this movie. It just keeps changing. And I'm like, oh my god. I am putting this in a special category, which I'm calling horror movies in Spanish, which will traumatize you. There's 4 movies in the category. There's Pan's Labyrinth, The Orphanage, Tigers Are Not Afraid, and now this. All of them will traumatize you. And it's like, what the actual fuck?
Okay, only one of those I haven't seen, so I'm gonna have to watch the tiger one.
Oh god, Tigers Are Not Afraid is so good, but it's so traumatizing. Oh my god. It's about kids in Mexico who are like trapped in drug like cartel wars.
Oh Jesus!
It's again. I'm like, what? Like, oh my god!
You watch that for a class? You elected to watch something? Like, what the fuck?
I was listening to the soundtrack and I was like, I may as well watch the movie if I have the soundtrack. And
okay, wait.
Like,
I have so many follow-up questions. How the fuck do you get to that soundtrack? Oh my god, my brain's gonna explode.
Anyway, I collect horror soundtracks. What can I say?
that is true.
That is true. But overall, it's one of those movies. I hate movies like this because it was so good, but I'll feel like an asshole if I recommend it to somebody.
Right? Especially somebody with kids.
Yeah, I'll be like, oh, you'll love this movie. And
how do you feel, Andy?
Like, people get rounded up and they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no shade, Andy. Thanks for having me on the podcast. But I feel like such an asshole if I recommend this.
No, I mean, I get it for like, we're doing a podcast, we're going to discuss it. Like, that's one thing. But if I'm like, oh, you'll love this movie, and then they're watching it and they're like, what the actual hell?
You save it for people you don't like and recommend it.
Oh man,
just like a little time bomb you can slip to somebody to fuck with them.
Right, exactly.
Directly.
Yeah.
So I'm the asshole whose brain made this movie worse than it had to be.
Oh no.
Because I've seen too many horror movies, and I'm like, okay,
She gonna eat the baby?
My brain went, she's freaking out and PTSD'd out of her mind. The husband's fake. The baby is stillborn and dead. And I was waiting for the end of the movie to reveal like she's gone out of her mind. And when it didn't happen, I was like, oh wow, that says a lot about me. I'm screwed up.
Right.
This movie was bad enough on its own, and I just made it 10 times worse.
Did you like the redheaded bad guy that shot up the container? Because that's your usual MO.
No, Joe, I'm with you on that. When I was watching it, I was like, the husband drowned in the crate.
Yeah.
I still feel like that, bro. I'm like, the husband drowned in the crate because there's no reception out there.
Yeah.
She switched into the Nokia, and I'm like, she was drinking seawater. I mean, that makes you hallucinate.
Yeah.
So I was like, he's probably dead. But then I was also like, and the baby's dead, and she's probably dead, and just because that's how these traumatizing Spanish movies always turn out, that everybody's dead.
Okay, so I'm not alone in that.
No, I was waiting for it, and I was just like, oh.
It's a Sixth Sense, right? But on the high seas,
Yeah, like when she gets, spoilers, when, everything turns out semi-okay, I was like, oh, wait, well, okay then.
Yeah.
Well, good on her. She made it out.
I
thought this was going to be like a 127 hours situation.
Honestly, the last reveal of the baby going up, the little baby floating up to the ship, her picking up the baby, putting it in, and then seeing the cord down in the water. I was just oh man. No, like I was one of those things. I'm like, no way, they're not doing it. And sure enough, oh god, I just I don't know. Again, I'm right there along with you guys on this. Like, but I just
and yet here we are talking about it.
I needed to talk about this with somebody. Like, I needed to share this with people.
God. I mean, I thought I was gonna come up with the worst movie on this. Nope. Andy,
Oh
you win.
no,
Yeah,
you
no,
definitely
you
did,
won.
Joe. Let's you don't
For
you
sure.
don't get to
Oh.
you don't get to try to slip
No.
out underneath that bullshit.
No.
We're talking about that one
I'm,
next.
yeah,
I do-
I'm
Yeah.
gonna lie down. I'm gonna put my feet up because there's a lot of shit I got to work out with your movie, Joe.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my god.
but
Um,
Yeah, so I gave Nowhere just 5
Right,
seconds,
yeah.
just because of the stress
Yeah.
level and the really great thigh laceration and the underwater birth was pretty good, and she had some nice ass.
Who had better titties though? Her or Piglet?
Well, I mean,
Oh.
made me wish I had more hands.
I mean, Piglet has the advantage. He probably has like 6.
Right,
If you're
That's why I
really,
wish I had more
Yeah.
hands.
Oh man. Oh god.
you can just play it like a xylophone. Just
Motorboating son of a bitch.
Oh my god.
Oh,
No,
God.
Canonically, Piglet has 3 inches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Like a
all right.
bunch of night crawlers coming out.
Canonically.
Wait, we killed a joke. We
We
lost.
lost.
Let her breathe.
Oh
Breathe,
man.
Joe. Breathe.
With that, we need to move to Joe's selection.
Do we though? Really? Do we?
Yeah,
really?
we
I
do.
don't wanna-
There's a
Oh, you guys all
there's
saw
a
this
lot
coming.
of stuff. Yeah,
Come
we
on.
there's
Oh
no
my
surprise
God.
here that Joe's selection was Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Which the best story to come out of the news in the last 2 weeks was that this movie was inadvertently shown to Florida children the first half hour before they
fourth graders.
before
Yeah.
they realized
Yeah.
what was going on.
Dude, and he kept playing it once he figured out. I'm like, come on, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Florida man, just turn it off.
Yeah.
So Joe, not
So
not that we need to know, Joe, but why did you pick this movie?
Because I wanted Nate to watch it.
I fucking hate you so much right now. I knew that was happening. Oh my
That
god.
is the sole reason. It's the only way I could get Nate to watch this movie.
fuck.
Oh man.
Oh my god.
So what'd you think?
Yeah, Nate, give us your rundown of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
All right. Well, I just sent you guys a fun picture I took of the
Yeah.
ending. Okay. Fuck, this movie is so fucking dark. Like it's a good horror movie.
Yeah.
Like it's not as corny as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's very corny, but it's
not
not
Slaughterhouse.
it's not Slaughterhouse. You take that back.
Nothing could really top the cinematic masterpiece. Of
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna have nightmares as a full-grown adult of the fucking Winnie the Pooh creature feature. This movie, I think I retched openly twice, and it's not like there wasn't any cat shit on me. It was just
That's good.
the way they used like literally the blood and honey.
Yeah.
In conjunction, especially when Pooh starts to feed and then is like dripping it on people's, and there's a great moment where I'm like, that's a fucking wood chipper she's hiding behind, isn't it? Like, yep. Circle gets the square. I kind of like the premise, honestly. Like fractured fairy tales. This is Christopher Robin had to go off to college and get his dick wet and get his doctorate, and comes back and his wife immediately gets killed. And, he is forced to watch it, and you think he's dead at the beginning, but he's basically hung up with the meat hooks and shackled and forced to deal with every kill that they make. There's a bunch of skeletonized, gnawed on corpses. Like, here's your wife's skeleton we've been chewing on for the last however many weeks. We'll just put this here next to you. I mean, other than the premise, obviously completely believable serial killer slaughterhouse type shit.
Yeah.
The kills were pretty good. The slow moving BMW wagon over the head with the poppy eyeball and everything was pretty good. I particularly liked when the the girl trip went sideways, and like the Instagram chick gets, screw you, fat boy, you're not gonna mess with my vacation, and gets like chloroformed in the hot tub, and then the rest of the girls walk around the car and see like the still squirting mass of her face. Yeah. Overall, gross, but
very gross.
Yeah. But it was for what it was. It was a good, like, gross out horror, weird fucking movie.
Yeah.
So
Joe, did you see it prior to recommending it to us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually did a horror corner.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, what I mean, what are your high points of the movie, Joe?
I mean, where are the low points? Am I right?
Pretty much. I can't wait for number 2. We get to see unhinged Tig.
Right.
Tigger's Revenge.
Right.
That's Tigger.
Are they making number 2?
They are making number 2, and
Okay.
Tigger is in it because he's no longer public, or he's now public domain.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay,
That's
that
why
was.
He wasn't in the first one because he was still under the whole like public domain thing. So,
Okay.
but yeah, we're gonna get crazy Tigger. Yes. Like the high points for me were actually the beginning.
Yeah,
because I love Winnie the Pooh, and I was like really interested in like the tragic backstory of what happens when you ignore your imaginary friends and you grow up.
Right.
And God, poor Eeyore. Eeyore got shit at the end of the stick, and he was my favorite.
Yeah. Wait, how the fuck did they eat Eeyore and not the pig?
Right. Seriously.
Like, come on.
Because
Who wants donkey? I want bacon.
The pig with his 3-inch nipples is more beneficial. I mean,
and
potato.
Piglet is Pooh's best friend. He's not going to eat his best friend. He's going to eat the depressed donkey in the corner.
Yeah, the downer at the party.
Last thing you want is that guy hanging around. So it makes sense.
Seriously. Why didn't we fucking eat Eeyore? God damn it.
Right. I mean, the bacon was good and everything, but damn, like,
right?
We've been paying for it. So Joe, I know you had your weird sort of brain go off on Nowhere. Let me tell you where my brain went with Winnie the Pooh Blood Money.
Goody.
And I'm sure everyone has seen sort of the costumes, right, and the design of Pooh and Piglet and everything. And I don't know if it was just like the fact that they were like, so obviously they were big dudes in masks, right? If they were so human-esque that I thought that this was going to be some like, no, Christopher Robin got kidnapped when he was younger, and this is how he sort of
Psyche dealt with it,
how,
like the abduction. Oh no!
This is how he visualized his kidnappers put on these masks and kept him, and so I spent about 3/4 of the movie thinking that that's where this was gonna go, right? And then when they finally sort of brought home that no, these are half like man, bear, pig, right?
Well, it says that in the beginning, but I get how
but I
maybe not.
I
I
thought that was a sort of a misdirect initially.
This pig has only 4 asses,
and so like, oh God, Joe again. But like, that's where I thought this was going. Like, oh my God, this is going to be like, and he's gonna end up in like straitjacketed and like recounting this tale of like,
tell me about Winnie the Pooh.
Right.
Tell me about Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, and so thankfully it didn't go that way.
Well, not for the girls that got killed.
Right. And but yeah, I mean, yeah, this was definitely the most horror of the movies that we chose, right? And like, I mean, it delivered on on sort of all of those levels, like the creative kills, the gratuitous boob shot right in the beginning with that one girl who gets it right. But yeah, all of your great horror tropes, and then just like when when Pooh finally does speak. Holy shit.
That's the picture I sent you guys.
Yeah.
I had to turn on the closed captioning just to make out exactly what he said.
Yeah.
Because Christopher Robin's, begging for the life of the last surviving girl. You've done enough. Why? He should have died immediately. What a whiny bitch. After all of this, you don't get it that they're not going to stop. They're fucking why do you keep doing this? And it kind of sounds like the music is uplifting. You kind of think maybe she's gonna get away, and Pooh's just like, funk,
yeah,
like sling blade.
Oh man.
Oh no.
Brutal.
Yeah, Steve, give us your thoughts, man.
So I thought, like, when it started out and it showed like the drawing portion where it talked about Christopher Robin when he ran into the 100-acre wood and he found these animals, they were a little off. I was like, all right, this is gonna be really good. But and Joe actually answered my gripe. My initial gripe was, why is there just Pooh and Piglet? Like, I know they ate Eeyore, but I was like, where's Kanga? Where's Roo? They mentioned Owl and Rabbit, and they never showed up.
Yeah.
And I was like, are they just like fucking off in the 100-acre woods while Piglet and Pooh are like, we're gonna go do our own thing? So I was kind of like, I would have liked to see them just to have more kind of boldness to it. But
yeah, they're running a commune and selling organic produce at the farmer's market.
Exactly.
They're good.
But
Andy, Pooh just went off the rails.
Yeah.
Right. They were like, all right, we're done with this shit. I actually had the exact same experience as you, Andy. I thought that these were like people in costumes doing the killing. It was only when they had a close-up of Winnie the Pooh's hands, and I was like, why the hell? I literally wrote down, why the hell are his hands yellow? And then it dawned on me, and I deleted it. I was like, oh, he's actually Winnie the Pooh. I get it now. Okay, I'm slow as hell. But, like, it just... Yeah, I thought the whole time that they were, like, manifestations of a trauma that Christopher Robin had as a kid. That's immediately where my brain went. And then I was like, oh, no, they're legit Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. I get it now. I agree. A lot of the kills were very creative. It was definitely, like, horror themed. I felt personally like it dragged towards the end. I was kind of like I remember I was watching it and I was like, okay, this should be wrapping up soon. And I checked and I was like, there's 30 minutes left in this movie.
Yeah, no shit.
Are you kidding me? Oh my
God.
God.
Forever.
And I felt like it kind of meandered to its point. If they do a sequel, I was wondering, like, one of my big points was like, how do they not even mention Tigger?
Yeah.
But then it makes sense. He wasn't even public, like, access or whatever, public domain. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. But I am all for turning, like, childhood, like, things that fall into the public domain into horror movies. Like, that is just amazing right there. It also was very reminiscent of early internet days when there was that story floating around, the Pooh Goes Apeshit. I don't know if anyone either remembers that, or, like, I remember being in high school and people would, like, print it out in the computer lab and be like, dude, did you read this story? It's called Pooh Goes Apeshit. It's about Winnie the Pooh, like, killing people. And I'm like, what? That's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And so then when Blood and Honey came out, I was like, you son of a bitch. You made you made Pooh Goes Apeshit the movie. Like, holy shit. And so, I mean, it was all right. It was good. I have to say, among this and The Angry Black Girl, I'm so glad we're seeing a return to practical effects.
Yeah.
Like, practical costumed people.
Yeah.
You know, like a step back from the, like, oversaturation of CGI.
Yeah.
Like, I love the puppetry in the best movie we're going to discuss soon. I love just the practical. I'm such a practical effect creature feature, like, horror lover, and I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I would definitely see a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, on that note, have you watched any of the Creepshow series on Shudder?
I haven't got around to the Creepshow series on Shudder.
Dude, if you're about the practical horror effects, dude, dig in. Because
I'll definitely check it out.
It's run by Greg Nicotero, the guy who does all the effects for
nice.
Nice. Dude, and he leans into all the practical stuff. So
he worked on Day of the Dead, which is my all-time favorite horror movie.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and From Dusk Till Dawn as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
No,
does all the
I
Walking Dead shit
Yeah,
too.
he
right?
does.
Walking
Or
Dead.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's amazing. No, I'll definitely check that
Yeah.
out.
awesome. Nate, side kitten scale for Blood and Honey?
Oh yeah, I gave this one an 8. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of. I mean, there wasn't a lot of downtime in this movie that wasn't like disgusting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gave it an 8. I've definitely seen worse, and I think there have been scarier horror movies that have used blood, guts, and gore in better ways. But for what it was solid as
Yeah.
hell. And yeah, I gave it an 8
Nice.
for sure.
Nice. So let's move on to some extra credit, and we've mentioned this a couple times already, and we need to talk about it. It is the literal sloth in the room. So
Yes.
yeah, sorry, that was terrible. Well, so anyway, so this was extra credit that came from Steve, but
Oh,
so
God.
my wife and I have been watching the new season of American Horror Stories, and that's on Hulu. And sure enough, we turn it on one night and we see the slate for just released Slotherhouse, right? And we both have a chuckle at that. And I sort of mumbled to myself and said, I have a feeling I'm gonna have to watch this before our podcast. And then sure enough, the next day it comes through that, hey, Steve extra credit, Slotherhouse on Hulu.
That's
And
hilarious.
so I'm just like all right, I gotta dig in. And I dug in, and then a couple of days later, Nate posts in the chat, so yes or no, Slotherhouse for the pod. And my exact response was, you would be doing yourself a disservice by not watching this incredible piece of American cinema.
Yes.
Jesus.
100%
And the show
agree.
has hit a new low.
That being said, Nate, let's
Yeah.
dig our claws into Slotherhouse. I'm sorry, that's just I'm getting worse as the night goes on.
Jesus Christ. Let's Jesus Christ. Don't rush. Die slow.
Slowly
Slotherhouse.
crawl to Slotherhouse.
Yeah. So Sunday, I sent a chat out to the group here. Did you guys watch Slotherhouse yet? It's so bad I tapped out after 4 minutes. It's so bad. Andy responded, "You didn't give it a chance? Shame." Joe's response, "Ooh, I can't wait." Yeah, so I got back to it. Not that at that point, but I went back to it. And eventually, I think to Andy's point, you said it in the chat, like it's so bad eventually you appreciate how bad it is.
Mhm.
And start to enjoy yourself a little bit. Which I didn't think I was ever going to say about this movie. It's so bad. And it's like I was saying before we started the cast, it's like the worst Muppet movie ever made. If Gonzo went totally off the rails. Right. But it has some great kills. It has, you mentioned this earlier, Steve, where, about the angry black girl and her monster, that it reminded you a lot of other classic horror movies. This movie literally takes shots from classic horror movies and throws them up with no fucks given. Just like, we know this movie's shit, but guess what? You like The Shining, right?
Right.
Great. Yeah, it was so bad it was good. Gotta be a cult classic. If it's not an instant classic, eventually it'll be a cult classic.
Well, I am all on board for the impending sequels that we're gonna get.
How are we getting sequels? We're not getting sequels.
What? I mean, this thing was basically
the post-credit scene was pretty good, actually,
and made it through. Like, I mean, come on,
right?
Yeah.
So how many lives does a sloth have? I mean, I know cats have 9,
right?
But like,
I think they have like -3.
Yeah.
I mean,
right?
Yeah, that's true. I think they get extra lives based on their speed.
Right. Exactly.
Like it's a min-max situation. You know. They got to make up for it somehow.
Yeah, I mean, so for these, I mean, like, if you want to call this a creature feature, right? Typically they try to ground the creature feature in some sort of reality where there's an extra sort of element to the sloth. And I figured when I started watching this that, okay, the sloth is quick, right? I thought that was going to be his special power, right? That he's fast.
He is fast in certain situations.
No, he absolutely is.
It's a girl. The sloth is a girl.
Alpha's a
Oh, yeah.
girl.
Sorry.
First off,
Of course she
Yes.
is. Fucking psycho
Right.
bitch. Come on.
she has a name. It's Alpha.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. That's probably not her
Respect.
name. That's her slave owner's
Yeah,
name.
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, but then she killed him and reclaimed it, so it's kind of okay.
right.
Can anybody answer
taking it
why the sloth looks like Jigsaw?
Right.
That was my first impression. I'm like, what is going on? And then the other one is that why does the sloth look like the prime Urukai? Fucking white head. I was dying watching that.
So good.
My God. My only real quick
Yeah.
on my last note for this thing. I only took like 7 different notes before I stopped. I was laughing so hard. I said, wait, so this whole movie is people wrestling with a psycho crazy sloth puppet? You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yep.
Yeah, amazing.
Steve, give us your thoughts,
Yeah.
man.
So this is almost like serendipitous. Like this is a horror movie tailor-made for me.
Yeah.
Like as young as I can remember, I have always loved sloths my entire life, and I've always loved really bad, so good it's bad horror.
Yeah.
And these two like made a
perfect.
marriage made in heaven for me. It really was reminiscent to me of like the slew of 80s horror movies like Sorority House Massacre, Slumber Party Massacre, things like that, where it's just completely nonsensical.
Sounds like you have a theme going.
But right, but it was just I love that the movie itself doesn't take itself seriously,
Yeah.
and they know exactly what they're doing, and they did it in such a way that it's like I feel like this was almost a perfect homage to those 80s off the wall, like we're gonna do ghoulies with like things that pop out of the toilet and are summoned by some guy at a college party. Like it was such an off the wall concept, but it was executed so well. And I love that they even had the guy, I was like, he said the line when he's all, wow, it's a real slaughterhouse. And they were
Yeah.
like,
He said
no,
the
no.
Yeah. Well, and then they gave him shit for it too. It's like, come on, guys, that's good, right?
I was dying when they were like, no, God, that's horrible. I was like, okay, top 10 for me. I
Yeah.
love this movie. I'm so happy. Like, B horror is having a resurgence with practical
Yeah.
effects. Not
For
to
sure.
tease things for you guys, but a side note: I went to the Sinister Halloween Con this last weekend, which is a horror con in Sacramento, and I ran into guys who are making a film called Crack Raccoon,
Yes.
Yes.
which uses a puppet. And so I am very excited.
Well,
for
yeah,
that.
after the success of Cocaine Bear, we knew there were going to be.
100%. And then we
imitation-
could do like a themed night, you know?
Can I submit that Crack Raccoon should be shortened to
Yes,
Crackoon?
exactly.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, oh my God, missed opportunity.
Right?
If they don't take that, I'm going to be so sad. But no, it was so brilliantly done. And I just was like, I was laughing so hard. Like the kills are hilarious. The fact that the sloth murks a crocodile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, oh shit. All right.
Yeah.
This is like, they did this perfectly because it could have gone wrong in so many different ways.
Right.
Like they could have made it too serious or too campy to where it'd be like a scary movie type of situation.
Too
Or where-
campy. How could it get campier than
Well, that's
the
what I mean. Like,
Slaughterhouse?
if it was like Scary Movie, for example, where they're literally spoofing horror
Yeah.
movies, then it would be like, okay, I see what you're doing. But it was like just the right amount of horror and camp that it was so in my wheelhouse. And I absolutely I was begging Nate. I was like, we need to play, please, like tell them. Oh my God, I love this movie.
Thank you so much, because that was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe,
It made me think of like when you go like kids. There used to be places where you go rent movies and you pick them based on the cover.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This would have been that movie for me of like,
Oh yeah,
I have to watch this.
100%.
Hilarious.
I mean, that's literally one of the reasons I was interested in watching it was from the tile art.
Right.
I was like, wait, It's a horror movie about a sloth in a sorority
Yeah.
house. Oh, let's watch this. It's gonna be terrible, but yeah, let's go.
So I do have to pose a question. Which is less believable? A college student this day and age driving a manual, or a sloth?
Or the murdering
Right.
sloth.
I would say college student driving stick because
agreed.
everybody.
What
loves
about
sloth.
what about a Muppet horror murdering sloth driving
Yeah.
stick? Because that, I mean, come on. I don't think so.
And that was the part, like, again, I was trying to like, up until the point where the sloth crawls down and starts to click and use the computer, right? Like, I was
social
still
media
sort of
post.
nested in
Yeah.
this. He's just fast. Like, that's all it is.
Oh no, he created a killer sloth profile on Insta.
Right. Yeah. No, that was like,
he drank a 40, or she drank a 40.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, and that
Oh,
was,
she full on murdered
yeah.
somebody.
And
took a
then at that
selfie.
point, yeah, it literally goes off the rails. Like, he goes on Google Maps, figures out a way to the hospital,
Oh, yeah.
like drives the car, and then just
Yeah.
like every, like, I love that part. And then, yeah, the reveal of the Insta profile afterwards with the selfies and like,
So good. It was
So
super
good.
yeah,
Oh,
I
God.
mean,
Hashtag killer
Yeah.
sloth. Hashtag. Am I right? Like, it was so-
Absolutely love it.
yeah.
oh man,
Oh,
yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's going to be hard to top. It really is.
right.
And I love that it's, bringing back the fun horror as opposed to like the
Yeah.
serious like A24 horror,
Right. Yeah.
Like, we can have some fun here.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to watch a sloth kill a bunch of college girls?
Yeah, especially some of these college girls that they throw out there, like, "Oh God, please kill her
Right.
first."
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So I do have to ask it, like, what's with the like over the top token lesbian? Like, that was the one thing where I was like, oh, come on.
Like, cool, they're gonna go to the showers, bro.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm right there with you.
Right. I mean, I took that as like I feel like this movie was a perfect homage to that '80s campy horror.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in so many '80s campy horror, there's often the like over the top, flamboyantly gay guy who just is like wedged in there for some sort of whatever. And I felt like that was a bit of an homage to that trope, kind of in this movie.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And there's just so many. And I was even like, as I was perusing my notes, there was a scene in there where it was very reminiscent of E.T., where Alpha's
yes.
hiding among all the stuffed animals.
Oh,
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my god, that's like an E.T. I was just
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
love the callbacks.
They had a bunch of those. I'd love to see all the different callbacks that were in there because it wasn't just horror movies. You're right.
good. Like it was just, it was way better than I thought it would be. Because I heard from a lot of people, they were like, "Oh, I'm so excited for this," and they watched it, and they're like, it was crap." And I was like, "Really? Like, oh god."
yeah.
You guys should check the chat. They have swag for the movie.
Oh my god.
Yes.
There's a Princess Alpha shirt that's pink with the tiara.
Oh, nice.
Oh my fucking god. Slaughterhouse.
Can we
rules.
get?
Just-
Do they make like Slaughterhouse Wolverine claws for us? Like, can we get,
No, that I can 3D print
Yeah.
those though.
I think we need to get some hand Slaughterhouse claws.
Cutie killer. Oh
Yeah.
my god, dude. That's amazing. I do kind of want the Slaughterhouse hat though. Hang on.
I just want the sorority
Oh,
shirt with the
yeah.
sloth as the O at the end.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like you're not supposed to wear that after everyone
Right.
dies though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
Don't rush, die slow.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Um,
Well, that's, I mean, that alone is perfect because for years I've had the background on my work computer is a sloth that says "Live slow, die whenever."
yeah.
So I was like, that's perfect to me. I'm
Oh
like,
my god, did you
God.
see this? Okay, we have to include this in the show notes,
Okay.
Andy. I'm going to save
Yeah,
this
no, so-
image
yeah.
though, but it's on the Insta profile, the Slaughterhouse Rules Award.
Okay.
PETA recognizes and thanks the creators of Slaughterhouse for making the compassionate decision to use puppetry instead of forcing a real sloth onto the set to remind audiences that all animals belong in nature,
Oh.
not to be exploited for social media likes and kept as pets
Yeah.
or used for
God.
entertainment in any way.
Oh,
But
Pete,
yeah,
it's
I-
never
so
changed.
bad.
No, I even love the final scene of the sloth back in its habitat next to doing the tour and everything, and then it cuts to the animated credits to show what happens afterwards. And I love that. I thought that was brilliant as well. So
Right.
So good. I'm gonna follow them on Instagram. They only have 600
oh,
followers.
there you go.
That's a crime. Oh my god.
So Nate, Side Kittens on Slaughterhouse.
Oh yeah, Slotherhouse for let's see. I was mentioned this before Steve joined. In my list in my notes here, I just have it listed as Sloth Movie because apparently I couldn't remember the name of Slotherhouse at one point.
Oh man.
Yeah, I gave it 7
Yeah.
Side Kittens actually because it's got a lot of good kills and performed by an angry Muppet sloth. So yeah, good on it.
Yeah. So one of the other movies that I suggested for extra credit, Joe didn't get around to watching yet. Steve, did you get around to watching Totally Killer
Yeah.
on Prime?
I watched it this morning,
Okay.
actually, and yeah.
Yeah. So
It was-
I don't want to go and we briefly discussed it last week on the podcast too. So, but I don't want to spoil anything for Joe because it's like I said, I really like this movie. I love and
Oh, yeah.
and this and there's an assumed thing like with the angry black girl and her monster along with Totally Killer, there are these sort of assumed sort of notions that are just sort of far out there for us, but I love that that it's assumed in the angry black girl and monster that she's a genius and she can put together a lab and she can basically research death and get all this stuff done without necessarily raising a whole lot of red flags. And then and Joe, we talked about this last week on the cast, but there's there's a science fair going on in Totally Killer where one of the girls is building a time machine. And it's just, oh, are you still building your time machine? Like, yeah, but I can't figure it out, and I love just including those elements in there and not taking 20 minutes to explain why it's happening in like real time and but just sort of like one noting it off to the side and just making it assumed that that's what's going on which is cool, which I thought was great. So yeah, we can table a Totally Killer discussion for a different time. Did we have any more extra credit that we needed to watch?
We didn't, but
Unhuman.
Oh, so I did put that out there. I don't know if that got out to
I
don't know if that got out to everybody or not. Did you watch it, Joe?
I did.
All right, real quick without giving.
We'll table that.
Yeah, to save it for the horror corner for next week.
We can do that as well. Steve, did you hear about Unhuman or not?
I did not.
Okay,
No.
Unhuman's on Amazon Prime. So if you get it,
What should we get, Steve? What are your thoughts, just generally, on Totally Killer without spoiling anything?
Without spoiling anything, I will say that I absolutely loved Totally Killer.
nice.
It was the most fun I've had watching a slasher in a very long time.
Yeah,
I felt
100%.
like it hit on all the notes so well. Like I read okay, it's a comedy horror, it's a slasher. Like, okay, it again, like Slotherhouse, but for different reasons. Like, threaded that needle so well of having like tension, slasher moments, like parody of slasher movies. Like, it was, I would even go as far to say it's like a modern day Scream.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it had a lot of the same vibe, but it was just so well done. And I absolutely loved it. I loved everything about it. I'm probably going to watch it again today or tomorrow because I like it so much.
That was one of the things we were talking about earlier, is that it's like Back to the Future meets Scream. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not to throw anything else out there, but if you're a parent, you'll enjoy it even more because you cackle about the kid running into her mom in the past and shit like that, and I don't know if you heard about this, Steve, but I watched this with Addie.
Oh no.
So he's already like 20 minutes in and he puts in our chat, should I be watching this with Addie? And I'm like,
No.
Well, no. To be fair, you you questioned.
I did.
It, and
I did
said
say
she's already watched.
I did say what her tolerance.
was
What's her tolerance for horror?
The 19. What were the Netflix trilogy?
Oh, Fear Street.
Oh, Fear
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah, she watched those without me knowing.
And again,
so
if you watch that, you're
apparently
fine.
that's where.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you say that, and then there are so many fucking blowjob jokes.
Yeah,
in this movie.
that's the part where I was like, oh,
Yeah.
like the horror aspect. I'm like, Addie'd be fine with that. It's the Addie's gonna be scarred like for life because she's sitting next to her dad while all this being discussed.
I think she was scarred for life because I was cackling nonstop.
Oh no,
about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no more. Sorry, no more spoilers, Joe. You definitely need to watch it. You'll have a good time,
Yeah.
especially like have a couple drinks and watch it with Ken.
so
You guys will
good.
have a good time.
Steve, while we have you here, is there anything else that we should be watching this year that we haven't mentioned yet?
Oh god, I am so far behind on modern horror, or at least that's come out this year. I don't know if you guys have ever talked about it on your podcast, but there's the TV series From.
Oh yeah, so after you suggested it,
Okay.
So let me tell you, I watched. So what usually happens is that I watch an episode. If I deem it wife worthy, then I'll rewatch the first episode with my wife, and then we'll go into it, right?
Right.
Jesus, wife worthy.
Well, because there's horror and there's stuff that she just doesn't watch, right?
I know the phrasing,
right?
though. It's just
terrible.
Very...
Okay, but anyway,
right.
So after the first episode, I'm like, oh god, Jamie would totally like this. 7 episodes later, I'm like, oh crap. I've gone so deep into this, and like Jamie hasn't watched a single episode yet. And so anyway, the next night I start her on this, and then it becomes like it tabled all other shows we were watching. Like we had to get through all of it. And then after that, I think I was after the first season, I put it in the chat saying, hey, Steve mentioned From, you guys got to watch this. And I know Joe jumped on it pretty quickly after that. Right, Joe? You got through it?
I didn't get through it. I got through maybe the first 2 episodes.
Oh, god damn it.
And
Joe?
then, yeah. So I had other things.
Yeah. It's all good. I mean, season 2 is all done. They're working on season 3. Right. And the way season 2 ended, I'm like, holy shit! Like, put me in a coma till season 3 comes out, please.
Yeah,
like,
you gotta freeze me.
Oh god,
you gotta freeze me.
It's really, really good. I mean, I really enjoy that. Yeah. Aside from that, no. I mean, aside from that, yeah, I'm doing my 31 days of horror, and so far I've gotten a lot of ridiculousness. Yeah, I got to watch the amazing 2009 Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus last night.
Nice.
Oh my god.
I was like, in my hubris, I'm like, I'm going to add all of these, like, Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark and, like, Sharks on the Moon or whatever. I was like, surely they won't ever come up in a random horror movie watch for October, and then sure enough it came up, and I was like...
That's funny.
Why did I do this? Oh my god. But,
I love that The Fly came up for you.
Oh my god.
Yeah, right.
I mean, The Fly is like such an iconic, just like all around amazing movie. Like Cronenberg is good in general, but like The Fly is just so good. The practical effects, everything about it, the acting is just, it's amazing. But yeah, I mean, other than that, yeah, I haven't seen a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of 2023 horror that after Nate was like, oh, pick a 2023 horror movie, we're going to discuss it. And I was like, Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. Perfect.
Yeah.
Then afterwards, I was like, oh shit, there was like Skinamarink, there was Talk to Me, like all these things I haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh, maybe I should have done that. And I'm still planning to watch them, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I just found a movie called VHS 85.
Okay.
That's on Shudder.
So
that looks like we need to watch. It's a 5 tales of found footage horror situation.
So I mentioned this last time on the cast during the horror corner. There's a whole series of VHS, and the guy who did Deadstream, had the last series before this one was VHS 99, where he had the final segment. So it's really great. It's found footage horror, sort of based in the year that it does, and they've done a few of these. So VHS 85 does not disappoint in any way, shape, or form. Like, all of the segments are solid. And so it starts off sort of giving you one segment, and then it pretends like they tape over it with something else. But then they fill in the gaps of that first segment, and that becomes the overarching, and they'll sort of,
there's a Wrath of Khan movie VHS tape on top of the thing. Oh my god!
But sort of like Black Mirror, they'll interconnect the stories here and there where they don't sometimes, here and there. But the entire VHS series is great. So if you want to dig in and take a look, it's a lot of fun.
That's the first I've seen of it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look.
Yeah. There was one movie that we watched, Jamie and I watched. It came out in 2020. I think it's on AMC Plus right now. It's called The Rental. Dave Franco directed it. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but a group of 4 friends rent an Airbnb for the weekend, and
nice
crap ensues.
Shit happens.
Shit happens.
Talk about a boon for the slasher people. Like, hey, come rent my fucking kitschy cabin in the middle of nowhere. It's just a dome with no internet because you guys need to be off the grid.
Yeah. And this was one of those movies that has sort of the a really fitting and satisfying resolution, and it tells gives a little more backstory over the credits, at the end credits, which I just think is great. So if you have some time, definitely check out The Rental. And again, you can watch it on AMC Plus right now. It was on Hulu for a little while, but I think they just took it off. And then, I mentioned this before, but if you're not watching Creepshow on Shudder, you are missing out. The first episode of this season was written by Jamie Flanagan, directed by Greg Nicotero, and it's got the Irish girl that's in all the Mike Flanagan, and then what's her name, Siobhan, the overly religious girl from Midnight Mass.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
And it some of the best 30 minutes. You think it's going one way, and the last 5 minutes just takes a turn, and it's incredible. This whole season though is fantastic. And again, Steve, on your practical horror effects, they lean into it all the way here, and it's fantastic.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Speaking of Flanagan,
yes,
you got to watch Follow the House of Usher.
Yes, I was gonna say I still need to see that.
Oh man,
on the list.
That was so good.
So good.
So good. I can't say anything without spoiling too much, and we need to discuss it further. So it's so good.
I'll well, if we can, let's podcast next week.
Okay.
No, we can't because that's Halloween.
Yeah.
So I guess let's give ourselves a break so we can get back on the weeks where I'm opposite Addie, and then if you want to give me some extra homework, I need to get through that, and we can discuss.
Yeah, so that puts us 3 weeks out then. Yeah, that should give you some time.
Shit, we're gonna be into Thanksgiving at that point.
Thanksgiving
14th.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah, that's true. We do have to do a review of that.
Dark meat, all will be gone.
There will be no leftovers. That's the best fucking subtitle ever.
Oh man,
what is that? What is it called when it's in a movie poster? Tagline, slug. It's not
slogan.
A slug. What is it called?
Slogan. The movie.
It is the tagline.
Yeah,
it's like a sizzle something. Don't think. It's a tagline.
It is the tagline.
Yeah.
I swear there was some other kind of poppy, catchy phrase for it. I forget. But that puts us on the 14th. No, next week is a 7th.
No, you're right. 14th.
No. I can't.
Because next week 31st, 7th after that, 14th.
Yeah, so
14th is our next cast. Okay. Yeah. So
if that works for everybody.
Well, let's
Cool. Sorry,
yeah,
we got to handle this business offline.
What am I doing? Anyway, so any more stuff that we should mention before we break? No, all good.
Steve, do you have a favorite of your horror 31 Days of Horror so far? That was kind of
unexpected? What are my favorites? I'm looking at my list because of last year. I was like, I'm going to make sure I have everything organized this year, just in case. So, the top movies I've seen so far this year. Joe mentioned The Fly. Nice. Let me see. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, always an amazing one.
Yes.
Chopper Chicks in Zombie Town. It's a very fun trauma film from the 80s. Dr. Giggles is 1990, just absolutely ridiculous. But I, of course, love Absolutely Ridiculous. Yeah. Those are on the positive end for me. Lower end, awful movies were, Mega Shark vs. Giant Octopus. Let me see. Nightmare Weekend was a '84 movie that I literally fell asleep while watching. It was just terrible. A lot of weird ones this year. I think in my fervor of collecting as many horror movies as I can, I need to be more discerning, I think.
Yeah, your gene pool is a little
I've kind of
little sling blade.
My pool. Yeah, a little sling blade. One of my favorites from this year is the 1970 I Drink Your Blood. A movie about, it's like, this movie's so ridiculous. It's about killer hippies who take over a rural Midwest town because that's what hippies do, apparently.
Right, yeah. And see, your conservative grandfather was right.
Well, first off, so the opening scene, the music in this is actually sampled in the Rob Zombie song "Feel So Numb."
Oh,
like
nice.
The kind of weird synthy noises at the beginning are directly ripped from this movie. But like the opening scene is a bunch of hippies out in the wood and they're all naked, and this dude who's indigenous is like, "I am a Capricorn of the third moon rising," and they're all like, "Woo!" And then they all start like drinking blood, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is one of those like hippie scare movies from the 70s. So then they beat up some kid's grandpa, and the kid does what any rational kid would do. He kills a dog with rabies, takes its blood, puts it in meat pies, and then gives all the hippies rabies.
Oh,
so then
Jesus.
The hippies all get rabies, and then they start attacking people. And then they infect a bunch of construction workers, and there's a really awkward scene where the sheriff goes to this motel that was run down where all the construction workers come out and they have like Alka-Seltzer in their mouth. And they all start pouring out of the house like a clown car to attack the sheriff.
No.
Nice.
And it's got this like weird 70s like music playing, and it's just like, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Man.
It's like Grindhouse cinema at its greatest, but
that's amazing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so lots of interesting ones this year. Not as curated as last year, but still enjoyable. I would say for your listeners, horror movies that I would recommend that I enjoy watching this time of year. In the Mouth of Madness, one of my favorites. John Carpenter. If you've never seen it, it's one of the best Lovecraftian horror adaptations I've ever seen. Absolutely fantastic. Nate, I think you would actually really enjoy it. It's
really?
In the Mouth of Madness, it stars Sam Neill. He is a private investigator who gets hired to find a man named Sutter Kane, who is a horror author. Basically, this universe is Stephen King, who has a very devout following of people who almost are cult-like in following him.
I think I've seen this movie.
And then Sam Neill puts all the pieces together, finds out where Sutter Kane is hiding, and he goes to the town of Hobbs End to find him. That's all I'm going to say. There's so much Lovecraftian horror folded into this. It's John Carpenter. Oh. It's amazing. The ending is one of the best horror endings in any movie. Like, I love this movie. Nice. It is one of my favorites. Movies that scare the shit out of me. What Lies Beneath. Always.
Oh, yeah. Oh, nice. God, yeah.
Can't recommend that enough. Nightbreed is a really fun one if nobody's ever seen it. It's got David Cronenberg in it. It's got a soundtrack by Danny Elfman, based on the novel Cabal by Clive Barker.
Ooh.
Really good. Costumed effects. It's such an amazing movie. They were at one point going to do a TV series on it, but I think it lost funding or something.
Bummer.
But it's super good. Really enjoy that one. There's several cuts of it. There's the theatrical cut, the director's cut, and the infamous Cabal cut, which is like 3.5 hours long. Which is Clive Barker like put everything in it, so there'll be scenes where it's like highly polished, and then it goes to like a camcorder style footage of them having a conversation that was supposed to be a scene that was like wedged in between the two other scenes.
Oh wow!
But it's supposed to give the most full picture of the movie. So you could find that floating around online. I certainly did. Fell off an internet truck. Oh, an interesting one from 2023 that I actually enjoyed. The Park.
Okay.
It is a dystopian kind of. I'm reading the synopsis of it right here. It's a dystopian coming-of-age series focusing on 3 kids who find themselves in an abandoned amusement park. The Park is similar to, I'll say, Bird Box, which is like in Bird Box. If you guys have seen it, like there's a mysterious entity where people commit suicide if they look at it. In the park, when you turn a certain age, I forget how, but like you die. So basically the world gets taken over by kids. And then as they age up, like, they know that their time is short. But then the kids go full on post-apocalyptic dystopian future and start like, Lord of the Fliesing each other. And, so it's pretty good. I actually enjoyed it.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, those are some quick, off the top of my head recommendations.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. If you need a quick horror fix, Bite Size Halloween on Hulu. I don't know if you guys have watched this, but they're little like 5 to 10 minute little horror shorts that are some miss, but most of them hit really well. So yeah, check that out if you need a fun little horror fix and can't watch a full feature. So yeah, what are your favorite horror movies this time of year to watch? If there's anything that you've watched that's come out recently that we didn't mention, definitely let us know. You can find us at the Rum and Regret podcast on Facebook. You can find us at rum_regret on Twitter. Did I say regret?
You did.
rum_regret on.
You have no regrets.
No regrets. On X, on Twitter, on X, whatever. That the platform formerly known as Twitter. We are rum_regret. Joe, where can they find you?
At Joe Chickadee on the socials or at joechickadee.com.
Nate, where can they find you? You're muted again, sir.
Avid Gamer, AV1D Gamer on all the socials and your gaming platforms of choice. We have been doing this for years.
You'd think. Mr. Stoop, where can they find you on the socials?
On the socials, I'm on TikTok. I haven't done anything with it because I've been too busy, but I am Mr. Soup's House of Horror on TikTok. And on Steam, everything else, I am We Are Stevo. Steam, League of Legends, if anyone plays and wants a Gold 2 hard stuck jungler, I'm available. Just shoot me an invite.
Did you English? What was that?
If you play League of Legends, A, you hate yourself, and B, you'll understand what I said.
Speaking of League of Legends, any news on Arcane Season 2?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
You should ask. He has
news. You should ask. 2 bits of news on that. 1, Season 2 is going to come out next year.
Excellent.
And 2, Riot announced just recently, maybe a week ago, that they are fully redoing all of the lore of League of Legends because Arcane was such an amazing hit that Arcane is now officially canon, and they're going to tie all the other loose ends that people were speculating into the canon of Arcane, and moving forward they're going to progress the stories forward using that as the model. So it sounds like a lot of people are hypothesizing. So season 2 of Arcane is going to wrap up the Piltover Zon conflict,
Okay.
and they're going to step away from that to another region. I am 99% sure in my heart that they're going to go to Noxus, which is the region it borders Piltover Zon, and it's Mel's mom, Mommy Madara,
Mhm.
is from Noxus, and she makes mention at the end of season 1 that somebody is gaining power and they're kind of taking over all the houses. Those people are Swain, who is an amazing. I think Joe would really like him. He's a older kind of tactician dude who is harnessing the power of a demon, and he like summons ravens and shit.
Oh, nice.
Uh, and then the kind of his hand who goes out and is like executing people is this guy Darius who has a giant axe and fucks people up.
Oh,
So
nice.
it is going to be season 2 of Arcane is going to be amazing. I am so pumped for
Yeah.
it. I cannot wait. And I'm so excited that they made that the canon because there's so much they can do with it.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's great news.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'm
awesome.
glad I asked.
Yeah, no, that was a huge, like, for everybody who loves the League lore,
Yeah.
like, everybody is, like, flipping out because they're like, holy shit, that means if all of this is canon, then this other stuff easily fits and slides into that,
Right.
and slots into this, and then maybe we'll see these other characters in Season 2. There's a lot of new characters for both the Piltover and Zon region that I think they can introduce in Season 2, which will make it just absolutely stellar. Like, there's so many good characters that would just fit perfectly into that show.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Have you seen any news about the Riot MMO? I know it's probably a couple of years away.
Yeah,
But it seems
so-
like they would announce something here soon.
They are investing a lot of time and energy into the MMO, and one of the guys on YouTube who I follow a lot, who talks a lot about the MMO and the lore Necrit, Riot has devoted a lot of resources to the MMO, and they a speculation that a lot of people have is that the reason why they're streamlining the lore, because the lore previously was kind of all over the place, and then they streamlined it once, and then Arcane came out and was a huge success, and they're streamlining it again, and they have the card game Legends of Runeterra, which each card has lore on it, and there's so many other like factions and stuff in those cards that they feel like they're doing this big overhaul streamlining because the MMO is preparing to go into either alpha or beta.
Gotcha.
And that they're doing this streamline to be like, hey guys, now we're all on the same page. Here's the lore. Here's the MMO. Jump right in. And I am definitely going to play the MMO.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I never played an MMO before, but I am not going to be able to.
Oh, man.
One, so.
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Awesome updates. So yeah, you can find me at Crazy Drake on Facebook, Andrew Drake on the platform formerly known as Twitter. If you guys like what you hear, give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe to us. We're gonna be here every 2 weeks ish or so once we get back on schedule and doing what we do normally. So if you like what you hear, definitely let us know. We'd love to hear from you guys. Again, Steve, Mr. Soup, thanks so much for doing the Halloween Horrorcast with us.
Thank you guys.
As more stuff comes up, we'd love to have you come back as always, man. We love having you on. And until the next time, we have spoken.
Pooh, you've got to help me. Something's wrong with Piglet. He killed my wife. You left.
It's a slaughterhouse.